I have some clients and they manage to really get their logistical costs down, get their cost of goods down by just finding really good partners for that. And
10% of your sales is probably creating 80% of the headache, right?
it might be nice to have like a showroom so we can shoot some of our own content and to be able to, of course, also sell in the physical location.
What was the biggest lesson you learned when you're buying containers from China? Because I know that is something that a lot of our flippers are actively looking to do.
But basically the blueprint that I developed over the years to sell furniture is kind of, I think it's 4 steps in total, where basically the first step is just to...
Welcome to another episode of the Couch Pod. Today I am joined by Lars Hauwert. He is a former furniture store owner. He grew his business to $9 million in revenue over 2.5 years. And since then has created a marketing agency dedicated to helping furniture stores unlock their full potential. He's an expert in digital marketing. He's familiar with how to drive in-store traffic, in addition to getting online sales. We're very lucky to have him on the pod today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. Happy to be here.
So Lars, you have a really interesting story, having been a practitioner yourself, like seeing how to build a furniture business from the ground up. What got you started in the furniture world? Maybe you could give us some of your background.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I was doing e-commerce for like a year, I think, just the typical dropshipping route. And I was really looking for like, what am I going to sell that's actually going to make me some money, right? And I don't know, I always had like some affinity with interiors and furnishing homes. And I always thought it was interesting. So I was like, let me just try to start like an online furniture store. So I started to do that. And yeah, just started to hit up suppliers, like calling them up, getting them close, starting to list their products on my website, and yeah, starting to get orders in for those furniture products. And yeah, from there, just scaled it up more and more. And also we got like a retail location. So at that point, I also found like 2 business partners to grow it with together. So we got like a retail store here in the Netherlands, where I'm from. And at the same time, we had our web shops pretty much all over Europe and also in the US. So yeah, we really scaled it a lot and it was really fun. Yeah, just happened to pass my mind like, I can probably make this work. There's a ton of margin here. It's way better than selling like $100 products online. Like, let me just sell a couple grand worth of products per customer. So yeah, that's kind of how it started, and didn't leave the furniture space after that.
Now, when you talk about margin, do you mean relative margin or absolute margin? Like relative to how much you're paying for it, or like the amount of money that you can make on each product?
Yeah, in this case, I was referring to the absolute margin. Yeah, if you have a $100 product, maybe the relative margin is higher. Like maybe you only paid $20 for it, so you've got like a 5x of your cost of goods. But let's say you're selling a $4,000 sofa and you're paying like 1.5 grand for it. There's like 2.5 grand worth of margins. And that's what I meant.
Absolutely. I bring this up because I think it is an important distinction to make when we're talking about e-commerce, because what I've seen is that if your average cart size is too small, it's very hard to be successful selling products online. You just, it takes too much to drive a customer to your store and get them to convert. It's nice to have something that's a little bit higher ticket that you can afford to pay for advertising, pay for SEO, pay for web design, etc., and then get them to convert on your website.
100%. Yeah, you definitely need that room for like to spend on marketing, like you said, to pay for the website and some other things. But there's definitely also things you can do to still drive your costs down. Like I have some clients and they manage to really get their logistical costs down, get their cost of goods down by just finding really good partners for that. And they're still having, like, example pops to mind now, they have like a bestseller product that costs 2 grand and they pay in China, they pay like $100 cost of goods for it. And then you've got maybe like $200 for the shipping in the containers. Like you need to include it in a container. You can ship like one piece, but still it is definitely doable to also in furniture get solid margins in my experience.
So just going back to how you started, originally it sounds like it was kind of a drop shipping play. So you had like a website, you connected with local suppliers, so suppliers in the Netherlands or in the EU, I imagine. And whenever an order was placed, they would ship it directly from their warehouse or distribution center to the customer. And so you're just kind of facilitating the flow of goods.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Yes. So we found some suppliers. Actually, they had both, most of them, both a warehouse in Germany, so they could distribute all over Europe. And they had another one in the US, so we could also even sell it in US and Canada. So that was really good. Yeah, when we started to become really big, we also started to buy some containers directly from China to even get better prices for like the bestseller products. But honestly, looking back on it, like I wish we would have just stuck with drop shipping because it's just such a nice overview, like very good peace of mind. Like you may get a bit less margin in, but yeah, like still looking at like the total sales that we did, I think 90% was just pure drop ship straight to the customer.
Yeah. And unless it's a big chunk of your business where you're fulfilling the orders yourself, having to do the fulfillment for 10% of your sales is probably creating 80% of the headache, right? Or like 90% of the headache associated with the business. And, I've experienced something similar with our business too, where we have one product works really well, gets most of our customers come in through it. We have another product where it's nice, it's useful, and like helps differentiate us, but it's actually where most of our problems come in. So
Yeah, definitely 80/20 rule. Yeah, 100%.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Before we get into all of the best strategies out there for making a flipping business, we just wanted to let you know that we have an app that helps flippers grow their businesses. Our app will send you notifications whenever the items you're after are posted on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or Craigslist. This way, you can always be first to buy the good deals and leave your competition in the dust. Not to mention, our app does inventory management, cross-listing, and has AI-powered scam detection. Just search Ivy Flip in the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store, or use the link in bio and try our app for 1 week completely free.
So at first you started just drop shipping, and then like what was the evolution along the way? Like when did you decide to add in a retail storefront? How did that like help or hurt the business? And then you're adding your own like logistics and distribution. I'm just curious, like what were the inflection points in that journey?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. So first we were with the three of us when we really started to scale it, and we just had like a really small office space, and it was just three of us, and we had like one like sort of operations VA from like overseas that was helping us with some order fulfillment and stuff. And then we started to think like, it might be nice to have like a showroom so we can shoot some of our own content and to be able to, of course, also sell in the physical location. So we started to build that out. So we got a showroom in Rotterdam. And then that's what we did. We started to already automatically from the website traffic also to get people into the store, like from our Dutch website. So that went pretty organically. And then we also did develop some really solid strategies to make it even busier in the retail location. So we really kind of got our money's worth from the store because, yeah, it was definitely not cheap to rent like a pretty large like store room or store space. So and yeah, similar thing with the warehouse. Like we just saw some competitors that were able to offer similar products for cheaper than us. And we were like, let us just join this thing as well. So we started to do that. Of course, had zero experience buying from China, sourcing products. So we definitely made some big errors there. Like you just bought a container with like really not great quality product, like full container with office chairs and just really not packed properly, not great quality either. So getting quite some returns from that. So yeah, with some of those containers, you just went in the red like 10, 20 grand. But that's yeah, part of the game, I guess, when you live and learn. So we definitely made some good mistakes along the way there. But it did allow me to get like in a few years time when I was like maybe 20 years old, was able to see all the different facets of running a furniture business and buying it in, like sourcing it, figuring the logistics out, like the sea freight, and then once it's in the country, of course, you also need to distribute it from the warehouse to the end customers. And yeah, same with the retail location. We built up like a little team in there, some salespeople, some other people just kind of working in the background, so really leading this whole team. well-being. Like in the beginning of my 20s was definitely a pretty special experience, but yeah, definitely came with both ups and downsides. So now with like the client model, I just kind of leave that to my clients because I'm still more like the marketing guy, honestly. I can do operations, but my passion is like marketing. So that's kind of answer to your question.
Absolutely. So, if reflecting back on your experience, what was the biggest lesson you learned when you were buying containers from China? Because I know that is something that a lot of our flippers are actively looking to do.
Yeah, I would say like really invest in quality control, like outside quality control for the factory. You can just go on Upwork and find like a sourcing agent that is located near the factory you want to buy from. And these guys don't charge a lot because they're like country where the wages are very high. So you just pay them and they go to the factory and they send you pictures of samples that you let the factory make for your sourcing agent to check out and to send you footage of, and really just do that with a couple factories to make sure that you've got like the right factory at your hands. Because yeah, if you order the wrong product and it's all the way in the US, like it's not as easy as just returning something, like order something on Amazon, you can just return it. Like you paid for the container, you did all that stuff. So I would say just being very careful with it, which I have not always been. That goes a long way in really finding those gems, I would say, when it comes to factories that you notice that they really care about the product. Like they hand make it, ideally. They really put care in their products. And yeah, you should be able to tell like that they're delivering quality products before buying large quantities from them.
Absolutely. So, doing a fair amount of due diligence, really important if you're going to start importing products from overseas. Not every couch is made the same. Not all furniture is made the same. There are people that take pride in their work and are going to be a good business partner. Other people that are just looking to get a deal done. They have more of a churn and burn model.
Yeah, definitely. And then you order it and you pay it and you're stuck with the products, right? So yeah, you gotta prevent those at all costs.
Now, was there any particular region or part of China that you were sourcing most of your products from?
I have no idea anymore, to be honest. Probably. I couldn't tell you.
What was the division of labor between you and your partner? It sounds like you were more marketing focused, but if you need to step up for operations, that was also in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I would say it was pretty all round. Like the actual sourcing, that's why I'm not sure about the region. Like communicating with those factories, one of my partners mainly did, and getting the containers and everything done. I still helped a bit with that, but he was doing that mostly. I was definitely marketing, like online ads, search engine marketing, social media marketing, websites, like getting the developer to implement certain changes that we wanted to make. We had an SEO company I was kind of managing. They were doing SEO for us, but also at the same time also operational, like setting up processes for the operational side of things, like the order processing mainly. And yeah, like the other partner, he was mainly doing like customer service and dealing with the store, like the retail location. Yeah, it wasn't like clear cut, like I'm doing marketing, your operations. Like maybe we should have, I don't know, but it worked out pretty well.
And I'm not sure if I got this part of your story correct, but it sounded like you started it on your own. And then as you were beginning to scale, you recruited partners.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I started like the brand. It was called Nancy Home Store. I started this brand myself when I was, I think, like 19 or 20, and then didn't have like instant success, nothing like that. I think I already did it for like 2 years myself, just messing about. And then I just met my two partners, and they also had experience doing e-com, but they never did anything like related to furniture. So it was kind of a really good match because I already had all the products, I had the brand, I had everything built, like the website, everything was ready. And yeah, they had like their own expertise also when it came to e-com. And we just kind of, yeah, like I think 2-3 years after starting the brand, probably like 2 years, I think I started and I was like 19. And then when I was like 21, I think we started to work together. And basically 2 months in after starting to work together, I think we did like 50 grand in sales. Then next month, like 100 grand, maybe like 70 grand, 100 grand. Like, and in the biggest month that we did like 600,000 euros, like $650. So I really try to make the most out of it, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like there was like really unique chemistry there and that the whole was greater than the sum of the parts. You guys put your heads together, something started to click. And that's really when you started to take off with the business.
True. Yeah, that's accurate, I think, because I had the marketing already pretty well taken care of, but I was not great when it came to like customer service and stuff. I was kind of lacking in that area. I was kind of preventing growth from happening because I was afraid of like returns and getting angry customers to come at me and that kind of stuff, right? So, and then one of my partners, he kind of took that upon him. So then I had kind of more freed up and I could just focus on getting sales in because he would deal with the customers after the sale was made.
So like prior to that partner coming in, like what was your approach? Would you kind of just like put your head in the sand and hope like issues would resolve themselves? Or are you tackling it head on and it was just taking up a lot of your time? Like what was the difference in approach?
Yeah, I would definitely help out customers. I wasn't gonna ignore them or like disappear, nothing like that. But I mean, some people are just more like, I don't know, they care a bit less about what people think of them, I guess. And if people are mad at them, especially when I was like just starting out, like with business in general, I was definitely not very resistant, I think, when it came to like criticism and people being angry with you because they paid you like $1,000 for some furniture and it arrived damaged or whatever, right? So I definitely evolved in that as well, but I always try to resolve it, of course, but it was just kind of triggering for me and took definitely a lot of time and energy.
Absolutely. Now, were your business partners Dutch as well? And do you think there was like a cultural aspect that played into what you guys were doing as well?
Yeah, they are both Dutch, yes. And what do you mean by cultural aspect?
So, like, are selling in the Netherlands, you have a retail storefront in the Netherlands, but you also have market presence in the United States, right? And do you think there is like an aspect of like Dutch culture that was influential in your business, like, or at least expanding into a different market?
Yeah, like just regarding like the division of sales, definitely the majority of the sales were made in Europe because that was basically where we were mostly operating in. I would say like 20% was North America. So yeah, I think because we were all three Dutch back in the day, it came most naturally to us to sell in the Netherlands. From there, we started to scale out to like neighboring countries, and that went still like pretty smooth as well. But yeah, definitely helped being Dutch to sell in the Dutch market.
What do you think like the difference is? Like, what is it about selling to Dutch people, Dutch market that you understood a little bit better compared to like trying to sell in the US, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, first of all, like products in general, like definitely different tastes when it comes to what furniture do people in the US kind of dig, what do they like, and what do people in Europe and the Netherlands like. Like we sold mostly like industrial style furniture in Europe, while in the US we definitely saw like modern also did really well, like very like white, high gloss, like TV stands, for example, like those did really well in the US. And then we tried them in Europe and it was like so like went okay, but like we had a supplier that had both a warehouse in the US and in Europe, and they had it first in the US only, and we were seeing like a crazy amount of orders from that specific model. And then we told them like, yeah, can you just stock up some products in your warehouse in Europe, we'll get them sold for you. And we barely managed to sell them for them because just the demand is kind of different those markets in my experience. So it's definitely big. And then there's of course like the language, the way you position your furniture, like the offer. Like in US you really gotta push more, I feel like because there's just so many competitors, there's so much noise that people are getting on a daily basis. So just having more aggressive offers, big sales, good discounts, I've seen that be kind of crucial for making sales in the US, and that's also what I'm seeing now with clients, definitely.
Yeah, very interesting. I would generally agree with you. I think, we were just talking before we got rolling. You've traveled quite a bit. I've traveled quite a bit. I was in Europe and South America right now. And the thing that I've realized about the US as a market versus virtually anywhere else in the world is that they're an extremely entitled consumer, right? They're used to having the best products at the best prices. And, like obviously it's a massive market. And so a lot of retailers, manufacturers, they want presence in the United States because that's a big opportunity for them. But as a result, it's like the Amazon effect, right? They expect, things to be at their doorstep in a day or two, free shipping, money back guarantee, like generous return offers. And the discounts matter, the sales matter, right? Building some hype around the product itself, the promotion cycle does matter compared to, like in Europe, the price is the price, right? The price of the item is the price. There's not really, that much negotiation that's going to happen. Yeah. So it's just interesting difference in cultures.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it's still really effective to do the same thing in Europe and give good deals to people, have like good return policy. Like, I still recommend that to people selling in Europe as well. But in US, like if you don't, you're just dead in the water, so to say.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had a really good run at it. You started up 19 years old, brought on partners, and then you guys are running this business, multi-million-dollar business between the three of you, and you were operating for about 3 years together. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, correct.
So what made you decide to wind things down, given that the business was, successful and generating like lots of money?
Yeah, so we definitely also, because we just out of nowhere, we managed to build a large business. Like, yeah, like you said, like multi-million-dollar brand. Like, it wasn't definitely like, oh, we just had like naturally all these skills. Definitely also the thing that helped us was like the whole COVID lockdown and everything that just boosted the sales up a lot. So yeah, and after that kind of happened and things like reopened, we definitely also saw like a big dip. And also my passion for it kind of left a bit. Like I said, I'm really like kind of the marketing guy, not really the operations guy. I can do it by now because I've got the knowledge, but I don't know, it kind of to me felt like a good moment to just sell the brand while we still were making sales, so you could still get money for it, because we also didn't know what was going to happen like later down the line, right? Like maybe the demand will just keep falling down more and more. Now it went back up again as like kind of pre-pandemic levels, but yeah, we just decided to kind of sell it and go our own ways. I saw a huge potential when it came to serving clients, just furniture stores as clients. Yeah, that's what I started to do essentially. I can just focus on the marketing side of things and just really develop a blueprint like that's really reliable to sell furniture, because like having done it once, definitely I didn't have the complete picture from A to Z. Like, how can I make any furniture store scale basically? Like, we only sold a certain type of furniture, of course. So yeah, to me that just looked like a really interesting opportunity, and that's what I decided to do, and my partners also were fine with it.
So, and we don't have to dig into this if this is like private information. I imagine it might be, but I would love to hear a little bit about the like process of looking for a potential buyer, courting different offers, and we don't have to get into the deal specifics, but maybe just a little bit about the process.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so yeah, I did sign like a contract, so I can't really get into like the whole deal and everything. But yeah, we just contacted a company that can help with that. And basically, by the end, we just sold the brand to a competitor in the niche. So also a Dutch company that was selling similar products like us, who thought it was very interesting because we already had like a database of customers, I think over like 50,000 customers at that point. He could just take all that over. They could take the whole brand, take it to another level. So it was a like match made that way. It went pretty quick, I would say. So yeah, it was good.
And are they continuing to operate the brand, or did they subsume it and just take over like the assets and the customer list?
Yeah, they mainly merged it into their own existing company, essentially, like using the customer data, getting those people to buy from them again. Like they still, like the website's still up and everything, but they kind of a bit of both. I don't know the specifics. I gotta talk with them or anything like that, but yeah, they definitely saw value in merging their existing brand with the assets that we had to offer them, while still, because we also had like Google organic positions and stuff, like they could still keep running the website. It'll just keep generating orders. So it's kind of a bit of both.
Do you think there was something that they saw or some unique value that they gained out of the digital marketing that you had set up?
Yeah, I think because of course they also got the ad accounts and everything, right? So definitely, I know for a fact actually they also went through the campaigns and they just reused the campaigns for like the Nancy Home Store brand, but then they also probably use the same strategies for like their other stuff, right? So I would assume that like if I were them, I would have twitched of it too, honestly.
Yeah. And, Google Ads has probably changed quite a bit in the past couple of years. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So thank you for the thorough introduction into your background. I'd been following along your content, but I did want to do a little bit of a deeper dive together. And now fast forward to 2025, a couple of years after the pandemic, you've transitioned into client services. You're taking the expertise that you developed running furniture brand and applying it to your client businesses. So first question off the top of my head is the thing that you did, which is probably more difficult and also unique when I look at furniture stores that are starting up in the United States, bootstrapping, let's say, is that you really were pushing your own brand as opposed to just being a retail location where you could come buy products from all different kinds of retailers. And I would imagine that a lot of your customers, if they have a retail storefront, are not doing the same thing, but maybe I'm mistaken about this.
No, that's true. We really pushed our own brand and we kind of put the brand on all the products that we were offering. We also tried to make deals with all our suppliers that they would put our brand and our logo on the packaging and stuff. True, that's definitely not what most of my clients do, but honestly, like it doesn't matter too much. Definitely the furniture is like the main value that people are buying into, but it definitely helps to use your own brand to put that on your products because that just prevents people from going to a competitor and finding the same product and comparing prices and getting a good deal somewhere, right?
So for most of your clients today, are they carrying like brand name furniture? Like maybe they're Ashley dealers or they have some strategic relationship with a manufacturer retailer, or are they like they just have like wholesale products that are unbranded?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's the first thing you said, like some people, clients, they just carry Ashley or any other furniture brands and just fully advertise those brands because people definitely also do know those brands and that can get people enticed to come into their store. And there's some that just get product from wholesalers, like if they're US based, they get them usually from like US wholesale companies, or there's also clients that just buy it all themselves from China, Vietnam, etc., India. Like there's different ways of going about it.
If you had to describe your average customer or maybe an ideal client profile, like what does that look like for you today? Like, certain size in the United States, carrying these kinds of furniture, like if you could break it down for us.
Yeah. I would say when it comes to, because you can sell both retail or online, of course. For retail, it just works the best to have kind of mainstream products, not like too high end. If you try to sell high end furniture retail, then you're stuck to the current, like to your specific radius around your store. So it can still be done, but I've definitely seen that to be kind of the hardest case. When it comes to retail, I would say, like you mentioned, like Ashley, like those types of more mainstream, affordable brands that you can just also buy on credit. That does really well, both in US and Europe, like just kind of more the accessible price point. And when it comes to online, I would say it works really well to have products that aren't really comparable with others in the market, like developing your own unique products, or like we did, just find a supplier that's not like widely sold yet in the market that you're selling. So we got products from Germany and Poland and we brought them to the Netherlands, and basically nobody was offering these products yet. That gave us like a very unique edge. So for online, I would say products that aren't widely sold yet, which can be done by finding unique suppliers that aren't used yet in your target market, or just developing your own products overseas, bringing them there, of course.
Now, you're making a really interesting point, which is depending on your distribution model, there are different ways to position your business. So if you're focused on retail, then you're selling the customers immediately around you. And maybe the customers immediately around you don't have the budget for an extremely high price point item. Whereas like if item is very unique and also very high price point, going back to the point about absolute and relative margin, someone putting $5,000, $6,000 into a piece of furniture maybe doesn't care so much that they have to pay for shipping, right? So now, like among your base of customers, do you find that people tend to specialize, whether it's focusing on retail and foot traffic or focusing more on online?
Yeah, I would say if they're really focused on online, then typically they don't have a showroom. And if they're very focused on the showroom, they usually do have a web shop, but they kind of neglect it. So they just get like 90% of their sales through the retail location. I don't really often find like a company that's doing both of them really well and is really able to focus on both to just get the maximum returns out of both channels. Yeah, they're mainly focused on one of the two, I would say.
Yeah, and I see exactly the same thing. Obviously, most of our audience they're flippers. So the way they got started, they're buying individual couches on Facebook Marketplace, and then they're selling individual couches on Facebook Marketplace. And like where you come from has a huge influence on where you end up. And so very few flippers actually have a website, if a showroom at all, right? Like a lot of them, like I would say 80% of flippers, they just have their marketplace profile, and getting them to diversify off of that into a showroom or onto a website where they're successfully selling products can be extremely difficult. But what do you think about that? Like, so you have customers that are kind of focused on retail, another side of your client list that's focused on e-commerce. Do you think there is a blended approach that people should be taking, or what is the best practice here?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely really good synergy possible when it comes to like your online web shop and then your retail furniture store. Yeah, of course, the limitation of a retail store is that people are not gonna drive like 2 hours to come to your store. Like that's just not gonna happen. Like they might, but probably not. So that's the thing. So if you advertise your website nationwide and then you have only like one store somewhere in a certain state, then for the US, I would say the synergy is a bit less. But if you're, for example, in the Netherlands and you have physical location in the center of the country, then anyone can reach you within an hour from the whole country. And yeah, then like the synergy is definitely there because people is come to your website already for your e-commerce funnel and just buying products on your website, and they automatically also see your address and they can just make it out to your store without any additional marketing essentially. So, but still for the US, I would say there's also still synergy and there's definitely something to be said to have both because it also just gives you credibility and authority right off the bat. Like people are definitely more comfortable buying from you online if they see that you even have a store. Like they can, like if anything were to happen, they can show up at your door. That thing is always in the back of their minds. But I would say you can do either of them without the other as well. It's not necessary to have both.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And so it's kind of like if you have an e-commerce storefront and a physical retail storefront, the retail storefront can almost be like a flagship, like a part of helping customers understand the brand and experience the product, but they may not pull the trigger online. They may not pull the trigger in the storefront. They come and check the products out on the storefront, they buy online, and it can smooth the online decision-making process to see that, you are legit, you have that physical space as well.
I would say if you have a physical store and somebody's in your store, you just got to close them in the store. Like if they leave, then they're gone. So I would say it works more like the other way around. If somebody sees it on the website and they're not too sure, like some people, they definitely buy a sofa for $5,000 or whatever, like through a website. But some people do want to sit on it and they make it out to the store. But once they're in the store, like they're in your world, right? So you just have to like do everything you can to close those guys while they're there. My experience, if they then leave, then they're just gone, honestly.
It's a great point. I think I was reflecting a little bit more about my own personal style of shopping. It's like if, like, for example, when I was living in New York, I would buy all my clothing online, but I would also go to the actual physical store, try on the clothing first, and then I would buy it online. And I know the retail associate hated that, but hey, it's not my job to make them happy. I just need to get my clothing. So, but for furniture, yeah, it's a bigger ticket item. Not everyone's going to shop the way I do. So, one thing you said earlier was that when you were first starting out, you didn't understand the process of going A to Z with a furniture store. But now you've worked with many clients, you've executed like some version of that roadmap for your different clients going A to Z, at least from the digital standpoint, right? Whether it's a retail storefront or they're focused on online. Can you break that down? What is that blueprint? Where do you get someone started and where is the ultimate goal of that blueprint?
Yeah, honestly, it took me like a while to figure all the steps out, but basically the blueprint that I developed over the years to sell furniture is kind of, I think it's 4 steps in total, where basically the first step is just to have like a really good assortment and just basically like we already touched upon, like that's just the fundamental piece of your furniture business, honestly, like it's the actual furniture. So just having something of value to offer to people. So if you're selling online, just have it be unique and something that has demand for it. It's physical, then it's a bit more straightforward, I would say. The products that you need, just, a bit more like mainstream products that a lot of people in the area are gonna be able to afford and gonna want. Then the second step is to just have a really solid website, like for e-commerce especially. An optimized website is absolutely crucial, or you'll lose it from everyone else. Like you'll lose it from the big guys like Wayfair and also smaller guys that have their website in check. So just optimizing that completely for conversions. Then the third, while also making it look good, of course, and not too spammy, like still have like nicely laid out brand and everything. Then third step is lead nurturing. Like a lot of people, they kind of see e-commerce as, okay, I can just let people come to my website and they just buy it themselves. And that is true for like $100 item, but it's not for like a $5,000 sofa or like a cabinet or something like that. Like you need to take people still through the buying process. Like people are going to have questions. They maybe want to receive some wood samples or whatever. Like they want to know that you're a real company before they just put like a couple grand down on your website. So like we also have this like a software that we developed for all of our clients to basically stay in touch with all of their leads, have like a pipeline of leads that is pretty unique. Nobody's really talking about that in the e-commerce space. Just kind of converting interested people into paying customers. And then once those 3 things are set up, then of course you start the marketing, you start advertising on Meta, like Facebook, Instagram, and search engine marketing, mainly Google. Just doing that in a proper way. Like that's the most I can give it to you. If I'm going to get into all the details of every step, I'm going to be here for like a couple of days probably.
Yeah. Well, let's try to get a little more granular here. And so first starting with the assortment, and whether if it's online, it seems like specializing in a couple products that are unique, maybe higher margin, it's going to be your best bet. Where if it's like retail, broader, more mass appeal, probably more affordable, having good like financing, delivery options, something that's going to be a little bit more marketable to your immediate area. If you live in a high income area like New York City, then maybe those rules don't apply. But if we're talking about like Woodstock, Georgia, then yes, those rules definitely do apply. So are you able to like walk into a furniture store and immediately kind of like start picking out what is a good assortment, what is a bad assortment? Like, how do you start making that decision?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process already a few months of developing like documentation for my clients on like what determines if a furniture product sells well or not. So like it is definitely like partially intuition, but also partially you can definitely derive it from certain factors. But when it comes to retail, definitely price is big. Online, if you're selling like the typical goods, definitely price also. Like if you're selling Ashley online, price. If your assortment is higher price than others while you're selling the exact same thing, you're done. You're never gonna have like a great business. Maybe you'll get some sales here and there from people that don't too much compare shopping, but in the end, you're not gonna win it. So I would say price, which doesn't mean a race to the bottom. You just gotta pick your products correctly, find good suppliers, basically. Then there's like just the design, visual appeal, what is in demand, certain styles that is, of course, also changing here and there, but there's definitely certain things that are just always in demand. So like I said, in Europe, it's like industrial, like real wood, like wood grain. Like, for example, for dining tables, having like thick wood grain with like powder coated steel legs. Like, that's just a proven method, basically, that just works. There's demand for that from people. So that is something to always take into consideration. And when it comes to online, also the materials that you have of your products. So pictures, videos, your descriptions, like all the different content that you have of your furniture is absolutely crucial when it comes to e-commerce. Of course, for physical sales, not. But I would say those are the pillars.
Mm-hmm. I think the point about assortment is really interesting. I don't talk about this enough with flippers because, what we see in the couch flipping world is everyone kind of copies each other and is doing the same thing. Like, people have ended up on are like big gray sectionals, right? And that's the best selling item for a lot of these flippers. And if you go into like the different communities and, like, what are you picking up? It's like big gray sectionals. But there are, different styles. There are different trends that you can try to cater towards. And I think, like, if you're evolving into something like a furniture store, especially if you're focused on a retail distribution channel, just having the right mix of products at the right price point can go a long way for you.
100%. Yes, and that's where some furniture entrepreneurs, they kind of, I don't want to say get lazy, like maybe they just oversee it. They don't see it as being vital. But I would say before you even start your whole store, before you come up with your brand, before doing anything, just investing quite a lot of time into getting very good suppliers with unique products that, that you have a competitive advantage with compared to the other people that are selling furniture in your area. When we're talking about retail, then you're going to carry that advantage with you with all the other things that you're doing. Like, you can emphasize in your marketing how good your prices are or how unique your models are, or like any advantage that you have, basically. Same with offering financing options. If you have like 20 different financing providers, you'll probably have a better deal when it comes to financing than your competitors that just bother to contact two companies, right? Like, maybe you offer like 5 years credit free, zero down financing, while your competitor is offering only 2 years. Then like, you're simply going to get more customers from that, because some people, they just need that, basically. So yeah, same with assortment. It's definitely worth the time, like, to invest in there before starting any marketing or anything like that.
Yeah. So in a way, that's like the core of the business, right? Would you agree with that? It's like the most fundamental aspect of being successful with a furniture store is just the right assortment. Like, you got to have the right items at the right price point. And it could take a while to figure out what those items are, who the right suppliers are, what styles are going to be popular in your market. Like, maybe it's good for you, you like it, but it's not well received by your market. And that takes a lot of trial and error.
True. Yeah, definitely. If it was easy and everyone was doing it already, right? Like, if you just find like US based furniture wholesalers, you go on Google and you search for that, or US furniture dropship suppliers, and you end up at like Home Roots or something like that. Like, they've got thousands of resellers already. So like, that's not gonna work. So yeah, just going the extra mile when it comes to getting really good furniture. Like you said, it's the fundamental piece of the business. Like, otherwise you're just building a house on sand. You can build a really nice house, you can invest so much money into it. It's like a big villa that's absolutely beautiful, but if it's on sand, like, it's not gonna last, basically. Same with furniture. If you build like the perfect website and everything, your marketing is amazing, you've got an amazing storefront, but your products are just not good, like, no one's gonna buy from you, or not as many as should.
So I know you're creating some documentation around this, and this might be, more information that you share with your clients. But if you could peel back the curtain a little bit, give us a tidbit on what you think makes good assortment and how, something that someone watching could try and implement in their business, what would that be?
Mm-hmm. So I assume for your audience, it would be mainly regarding sofas, finding sofas that sell well.
Yeah, but also furniture in general, I think. But yeah, a lot of the people following along are focused on couches. Although I think they should not be. I think there is opportunity to sell all kinds of furniture. There's a reason why the furniture industry, not the couch sectional industry, right? I think it's because like people just don't know what they don't know. And if you've had success with sectionals and sofas, then you kind of want to stay focused on the thing that's treating you well. And then maybe you have experimented with like a dining room table, but you didn't really spend the time to optimize your sales around dining room sets or cabinets or bedroom sets. And so you just assume that they can't make money, which I don't think is the case, right? Like, and you and I both know this.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, regarding like what makes furniture assortment good, like it's a really good question. And yeah, I'm still like kind of trying to define it, honestly. Like it's definitely caused me some mental stress, like not real stress, but just thought when I do it. So yeah, I would say like practical use seems very straightforward, but just something that is actually useful for people goes a long way. So just having products, yeah, like now we're getting to like first principles, right? Like what makes a furniture piece valuable. Like I would say practical use, status, definitely. I've seen that work pretty well too. Like products that just look luxurious and people just feel like they get status when buying it. Then there's just like when it comes to online, there's the visual appearance. So how the pictures look. I'm not talking about the actual design of the products. That's more like the underlying thing. But when it comes to e-commerce, just having really good pictures and videos that just make it look like very appealing. And I didn't prepare to like give you a complete rundown on what makes a good furniture assortment. I would love to. Like, I didn't describe it as well as I should. I can definitely give you a shortcut on how to find a good assortment. Like, simply go to competitors' websites, and I'm not talking about Wayfair, but more like a bit smaller competitors that just have like you can use like an extension. It's called Similar Web to see how many website visitors a website has. I would say make it have at least like 20,000 monthly visitors up until like maybe 500,000 monthly visitors, and just find out what they are selling the best. So you can just find out what they are selling really well, and then you can run with those products because they are already validated basically, or you can just give it your own unique spin like we discussed, so you make it even more unique, and that way just have something that nobody else has, literally. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of trial and error as well, like you said, and a lot of research goes into it. Like, I don't know how many hours I've spent in my life searching for good furniture.
Yeah. And I imagine it's a tough conversation, right? Like, what is the form of a good furniture store? What is the form of a good assortment? These are very abstract, but it's something that like when it's in front of you, you know it, and it makes a big difference, right? Like all across the United States, there's been discussion of brick and mortar being slaughtered by e-commerce, right? It's a decades long discussion at this point. And it is true. You've seen a lot of the big brick and mortar retailers go out of business. They just can't compete with the efficiency of e-commerce. But furniture is kind of unique in a way, right? It's bigger, it's bulkier, it's harder to ship, it's harder to return. It's something that customers, like if they're making a big investment, they probably want to experience. And if you walk into a furniture store that is doing it correctly versus like a Big Lots, or there's like a big furniture brand, I think it was American Furniture, that just closed down. And if you walked into one of their stores, you'd know why they closed down. It feels stale, right? People don't want these styles. They don't want these couches. They don't want these tables. And so there's someone making the decision about the supply chain, about what products to bring on and put in the showroom, that is just out of touch. And so taking the time to be a tastemaker, really understand your customers, what they want, and having a relevant curation of inventory can make a huge difference. And I think, it's the people that spend the time and energy to figure this out that ultimately come out ahead, right? Because to your point, can't put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, that's true. I've never heard that saying before, but I really get what you're saying.
No, it's a pretty common American phrase, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's not American.
No, yeah, I believe you, but no, it's very true what you said. So I would say when it comes to a retail location, definitely it's important to have like the newest furniture that is actually in demand, like not the stale stuff. Like you said, I believe Big Lots had like a lot of stuff like that because they went out of business. But also just having stuff going on around the store, like having different sales going on that's ending in like 2 weeks from now, and there's like a certain reason tied to the sale saying like, yeah, like right now, for example, there's like this early spring sale, for example, you can do because spring is almost coming. Like the time already switched in the United States. So a lot of my clients, they're just putting like banners on their website or in the retail location saying like, yeah, it's 50% off right now because of early spring sale, and there's like nothing related to furniture being discounted and like spring almost being there, but just kind of keeping up with the current trend and what is happening in the world, and yeah, kind of staying updated that way, as well as the furniture trends. Having furniture that just is in demand at that moment is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, and every market is going to be a little bit different. Like just as you and I were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, like industrial is really big in Europe, maybe not so much of a hit in the United States. And it's going to, I guess, depend on which part of the US you are at. So knowing your market, knowing your selection of item, knowing your suppliers, that's a strong foundation to be able to build on. And, that's just one of the pillars that we talked about. We are about at the end of our session today. And I know there's a lot more stimulating discussion that we could have about facets of digital marketing and customer relationship system, et cetera, but maybe we could save that for another time.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool. Well, Lars, thank you so much for coming onto the Couch Pod, sharing a little bit about your background and what you think the secrets of success are for a furniture store in 2025. I hope to have you on another episode very soon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, and talk to you soon.
Thank you. Ciao. Bye.